Falling economic indicators, more poverty and unemployment, and the fall in the value of Iran's currency, the rial. These are just part of the negative economic record of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad during his 2 terms as president. In spite of all of these indications, can the Iranian economy still hope to improve? We pose this and other questions to Professor of Economics at the American University in Paris, Shahin Fatimi. But first, here's a brief look at the economic record of the Ahmadinejad government.
نگاهی گذرا به کارنامه اقتصادی دولت احمدی‌نژاد طی 8 سال گذشته خواهیم داشت.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad came to power in 2003, promising social justice and oil revenue benefits for ordinary Iranians. In the last months of his first term in office, he announced he would enforce targeted subsidies, calling this a surgery of the Iranian economy. The aim was to help lower-income earners and the poor. When Ahmadinejad's presidency began, Iran was enjoying huge profits from oil exports, as the second biggest OPEC member. Cash circulating in the national economy increased 6-fold in a period of 8 years. But with this, the inflation rate also increased. Officially, it reached 40% in the last year Ahmadinejad was in office. But some economists say the real figure was as high as 70%. Unemployment also went up. According to Iran's official statistics, nearly 1/4 of the total workforce are jobless. In the past 8 years, economic production and exports dropped. This included oil, the sale of which fell dramatically under the coordinated pressures of American and European-led sanctions. Before they struck, Iran was exporting 2.2 million barrels per day. In the past few months, however, it's been less than 1/3 of that. What's left for the next government to manage, after Ahmadinejad's 8 years at the helm, is a seriously depleted economy, which shows little sign of turning around anytime soon.
According to the latest report by the International Monetary Fund, Iran's economic growth rate has fallen from 2% last year to 0.09%. Shahin Fatimi in Paris, looking at Iran's economic indicators over the past 8 years, what's your assessment of the country's economy during Ahmadinejad's 2 terms?
In my view, the trend has been very negative. The international atmosphere and the internal situation have minimized or totally eliminated all the factors needed for continuous economic growth. Regarding the fact that Ahmadinejad did have more than $700 billion of oil income at his disposal, his presidency is one of the worst periods in Iran's history since the 1980-88 war against Iraq and since the revolution.
The sanctions led to a rise in inflation, and Iran's currency, the rial, was also targeted. Last year, its value halved against the world's hard currencies. What future do you foresee for the rial?
There is an inverse relationship between a currency's value and inflation. As inflation goes up, the currency's value falls, and it becomes dependent upon international factors. When the economy of a country like Iran is solely dependent on the oil trade, which is currently under sanctions, we should expect to see the value of the national currency go even lower within the coming year. The sanctions are especially affecting Iran's currency. Inflation will continue to rise, and such problems cannot be solved by empty talk.
Economic experts look at the past 8 years as a time of poverty and unemployment. How far do you think Iranian society can cope with the economic pressure?
These events would not have happened if Iran had been a free society, because in a free society, people with their votes would make the government change its policies. And if that did not happen, they would change the government. But in the absence of freedom in Iran, people have no share in the government. As long as the force and the pressure of the government is greater than that of the people, this trend will continue. In general, we can say that Iran's economy is the Achilles heel of this regime, and it is the economy that will eventually change this regime.
The presidential candidates have tried to attract more votes through economic pledges. How do you assess their proposed programs? Do you see any effective solution to Iran's economic crisis in the plans they've talked about?
All of them are speaking in general terms. The Iranian economy is currently being determined by international context more than anything else. And the international circumstances are not something on which the candidates can make any decision. As long as Iran fails to normalize its ties with the world, we should not expect any of the candidates to be able to do anything. They just make prescriptions without being able to propose a solution for the problems, because they know very well that they would not have any authority over macro policies. They also know very well that the fundamental problems of Iran's economy are political in nature. The solution lies in solving the problems with the international community.
دکتر شاهین فاطمی، استاد دانشگاه آمریکایی پاریس، از اینکه دعوت یورو نیوز رو پذیرفتید سپاسگزارم.